Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Utopia News WARCAST. This is your host Wind. Today's date, April 11th, year 4. We're going to go through this one fairly quickly as this broadcast started a lot later today than usual. I was actually watching 24, having a good time watching Jack Bauer kick ass. I definitely recommend anybody watching it. I mean, he's a total badass, and he's Canadian too, so I can relate to that. But let's move on to the wars currently in progress. Let's dive in. All right, let's see what we got here. Schizophrenic Cocktail defeats. We're just gonna call them bar room brawling. Uh, Top Grill Burger defeats Colorful Knights Hospitallers. Message for War defeats Woot War, and the Woods completes basically what is a min-time war against Themeless. Good job, Cell. Your kingdom definitely needed it. I'm sure you needed it too. 4-day break is always nice. And as I said in previous podcasts, after suffering or going through a 14-day war with a brand new kingdom, that can be very taxing on the entire kingdom. So it's definitely, something you want to try and avoid, especially with newer kingdoms that are just formed, especially if it's your first time as a monarch. I mean, that's a pretty tough position to put yourself in. But, by all means, do what you can. Keep up the good work, Cell. Um, I noticed you started your own little podcast on your server there. I listened to a portion of it where you do like a Q&A basically for your kingdom who would ask questions. That's great. I think it's amazing. Keep up the good work, and let's see some more wars from you guys in the future. So, without further ado, let's get this war screen out of the way and let's take a look at what's going on today. But before we go to the completed wars, we're just going to take a quick look at the chart to see if anything's changed. I don't think so, but we're just going to get rid of the rest of them and just have the top one here. As you can see, is Evolution. Recently tagged after their victory. They had a very tough battle, and they're in a very nice position now. 4-4 not too far behind, 5-7 not too far behind them. Romania sitting right on top of 5-7. Cracker Jack just below. Duck says quack, not too far off. Barco Loco has just been continuously dropping the ranks. Will they go to war? Are they waiting for an opponent? What exactly is Barco Loco waiting for? Maybe they're waiting for a less skilled kingdom to come up so that they can take a nice easy win. Who knows? But either way, based on what they did to Utopia and Crossword, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do the same to any of the kingdoms currently up around their range at the moment. So we'll see how that plays out. Syndicate not too far behind, and this Grats to Fluid on his newborn 410. Congratulations. Kids are always fun. Let's move on to the wars that are completed. Um, as I said, we're going to call these guys barroom brawling because it's just a tongue twister that I don't have the mental capacity for at this time. And after about 3 or 4 beers, I'm just not having it right now. Schizophrenic Cocktail takes the victory here. I mean, we saw this one coming. I'm pretty sure this is one of those wars where, Schizophrenic had a very strong performance and continued to maintain that performance throughout the war. Although we know we did see this trend with Cell's war in the 14-day war against Checkmate, where this is a semi-smiley face right now. This could very well have turned into a full smiley face at some point. I mean, definitely looked like Blue Kingdom wasn't really giving up too easy, and the chains weren't exactly very abrupt. Looks like Schizophrenic was doing constant damage throughout the entire war. So good luck to both of you on your next wars, and congratulations, Schizophrenic, for taking this one. Just a quick look at the honor side of things. Yeah, good job. You walked away with a nice little chunk there. Nice work. All right, let's move on to the next war. Knights Hospitallers versus Top Grill Burgers. I'm pretty sure Knights Hospitaller suffered a gruesome defeat at this one. Um, they definitely weren't prepared to deal with that. They were short provinces as well. And to be honest, the way this looks, if they did have those extra provinces, they probably would have won this war. Maybe Top Burger might not have even taken it in the first place. But they walked away with a nice little catch here from the beginning of the war all the way up into the end. Nice walk away for them, almost 10k honor. I mean, excellent work taking that honor top grill. Show them what's for. And Knights Hospitaller, hope you get better luck next time. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Woot War versus Message for War. Message for War defeats Woot War. Uh, this was a little bit closer of a battle, but definitely, it was never a good sign the way that the Blue Kingdom was kind of staircasing down like this. That's kind of, to me, indicates very strong waves on Red's side, whereas Red's, just gradual decline here. Um, definitely strong performance from the Red Kingdom. Quick look at the honor side to see what they walked away from, and again, we're seeing that strong performance. Blue never really able to achieve true convergence here, and then they just slip back into their previous state. Um, and again, we'll use a little segment thing here just to indicate some other patterns that are forming. I mean, in this case, it definitely looks like Red Kingdom is just dominating. In this case here, they're almost achieving convergence, and then in the end, we kind of go back to that initial state where the war started. Blue being unable to achieve convergence was, pushed back down and actually ended up almost, well, just a little bit above where they entered the war in terms of honor. So great performance by Message for War, and we look forward to your wars in the future. They were up one province, so the honor chart is slightly affected by it. If they did have that other province, these lines probably would have achieved convergence. However, it still would have been a similar scenario, I believe, where we had the same pattern 1001. Um, I think, even if we shift these lines up a little bit, they still never would have had that divergence. And, there would have been a much stronger convergence, but still not enough for them to take the war. Red Kingdom just had a good plan. Let's move on to the last war, Themeless versus Woods. Land-wise, I mean, Cell did a good job of controlling how much land the kingdom was intaking, and as you can see at the end, they really, shut up nicely from that. They definitely need to catch up a little bit with the rest of the server. I think everyone's kind of in between the, 25 to 35 or 40k range. Anyone who's really, really into wars and winning wars and things like that. Um, Not that there's anything wrong with not winning wars, but I mean, if you want a good war, generally you want to go against a kingdom that has a pretty good proven track record, and it always helps to take a nice win off of one of those kingdoms as well. I mean, it's good for morale. It's also good to defeat opponents who have undefeated war scores. Let's just say that. Um, so good job, Cell. Quick look at the net worth side to see what kind of dominance they actually had. Very strong dominance here. The only point of contention here would have been, around here where they had a wave that looked like they were doing some pretty decent stuff there. However, it just wasn't strong enough, didn't do enough damage, and the Woods ended up walking away on this. Um, so good for them. They definitely needed this win after the war that they went through. As you can see on the honor side, I think they did a great job taking the honor with them as well. Um, Good job, Cell. Very well played. Themeless, better luck next time. Let's take a quick look at some notes here. Uh, this is slightly before the victory here. As you can see, Woods in a good acre position, very strong net worth position, even stronger TM or TPA, WPA, and science position despite having more acres. I mean, they have a lot of power there. Almost double the peons, 20k more units. I mean, that's not too significant. Both sides still have somewhat decent econs. However, Woods is definitely would have been the one that could fund dragons in this scenario, and their togs would actually be worthwhile somewhat as well. But they definitely controlled the TP, like the thief, the TM side of this war, whereas Themeless did not. And I'm sure that contributes to what that line we saw where the Woods was just basically dominating the net worth, wave over wave, and with the TM power on their side, it's really hard to come back when all of the factors are against you. They are short one player as well on Themeless, so that made it slightly easier for Woods. But not to take anything away from their victory, um, it's all wars are very time consuming and can really eat away at your personal life and work life. So despite who you war and despite what goes on in the war, everyone puts a monumental amount of effort into every war, especially if you're on the planning side of things. Quick look at the peon counts here. Average is about 6,500 to about 4,000. This is relative to Cell's side. So um, again, they have more peons. Offense-wise, the um, average offense and defense is actually the same on the Woods Kingdom relative to the enemy. Their offense is about 76 to uh, defense of 66. So Cell's Kingdom definitely in a strong advantage point there. I mean, just on the offense alone, on the average, they're about 25k more, and on defense, they're about 35k more on average on defense. So I mean, it's definitely their war to win. Dragons, they killed the Emerald, started a Ruby. Um, we killed their Emerald and started a Ruby that they haven't sent. They killed a Ruby apparently. We sent another one, started a Sapphire. Rituals were Godspeed and X-Bro. I mean, come on, guys. Pick something other than these two rituals. Just please, just humor me. And I mean, not that there's anything terribly wrong with Godspeed, but you can make better choices. Also, X-Bro, guys, this is just no. Stop using this for war. Everybody, just no. Stop it. Okay? It's just like benediction. I mean, there's nothing terribly wrong with it, but again, there's better things. There's better things. And maybe this is definitely, I mean, I could maybe justify expropriation starting off the war if you had lots of gnomes or something like that, something that's getting a lot of credit bonuses already, um, or orcs, and you want to work with something there. But either way, I mean, there's much better rituals. General morale on the wood side seems to be high. Uh, I think he's supposed to say low as F on themeless, but needless to say, let's good job to sell in the woods. So let's move on to the current wars in progress. Let's see who we got here. Unknown Kingdom versus Marauding Critters. Marauding Critters in terms of land, it seems like both these kingdoms have been growing a little bit, both equal sides. Let's take a look at the net worth and see what's going on. Um, Unknown Kingdom seems to be in a good position. However, they are being brought down, and Marauding Critters is maintaining this net worth position here. So I think, and again, the other thing I wanted to point out here is we're seeing that smiley face effect here. There's the gradual decline here, and then there's the leveling off here, and we expect to see an inverse effect. Basically, this is kind of what I'm looking for. So it's very likely Marauding Critters could pull back from this one if they have the resources and attackers to. Quick look at what's going on their, province side of things to see if that's even remotely possible. Um, Definitely. I mean, they're definitely in a strong position right now, Marauding Critters, especially if these undead fairies, sorry, this dwarf and this undead can maintain their position there. I mean, they are fairly low on net worth, but so is the enemy relatively speaking. So they might be able to pull this one off, but I am a little bit concerned about all these fairies at the top here. They have a decent net worth per acre, so I mean, there's a chance that there's a lot of damage going on here, and quite possibly a lot of fireballs being thrown at marauding critters. Probably what's slowing them down or stopping them from overtaking Unknown Kingdom at this time. With that many fairies, I would expect no less. Let's take a quick look at the honor side of things, see what's going on the honor chart. Unknown Kingdom in a very strong position. It seems like Rotting Critters kind of dropped off a little bit, but this war's about 110 hours old by now, so um, I don't know if Rotting Critters is going to be able to pull back the honor on this one. They did start at the smaller kingdom, and they do appear to be slightly growing. But so is the enemy. I mean, they're almost in a stalemate when it comes to the honor right now. We'll have to let this war go on a little bit longer to see what happens. Land-wise, I mean, one of them obviously just had their wave. Marauding Critters must have just had their wave, but they're going up in acres. Unknown Kingdom's going down. So I mean, depending on where they are in their wave, it looks like this is actually developing. So we're kind of getting to watch this as it's happening. But here, this is exactly what I was talking about. We're watching this convergence happen here, which is likely may come during this broadcast. But we're looking for the smiley face effect here, where Marauding Critters ultimately will pull back out of this current position that they're in. Um, so it looks like this war's definitely developing, and my advice to both sides would be don't let off the steam. I mean, there was a lot of strong play here at the very beginning of the war, and then kind of down here as well. I mean, it's this war is definitely nowhere near over. I mean, Marauding Critter still has a very strong chance. The longer this goes, I think, the better their chances are. However, like I said, these fairies over here could be quite a problem. I mean, they've all taken some damage, so clearly something's going on to damage their fairies. I mean, look at everyone on this side's taken damage, and there's actually some positive growth on this side. However, they are in the middle or just having their wave, so this positive growth could very well just be elite conversions and building buildings and things like that. Just getting them built will help you with that. So let's just take a quick look here. Yeah, see, I mean, they're going in for a wave right now. Um, Wish you could wait on this a little bit longer to see if they do achieve convergence. But I think, by tomorrow, it's very likely that Marauding Critters will see some convergence on the net worth side. And whether or not they're able to pull up from that and they can control these fairies, who are sitting on more net worth on the enemy side. I mean, they still have a couple fairies on their side, net worth wise, that are in a very good position as well. So I mean, they're both in a pretty good position, but definitely looks like Marauding Critters has, put themselves in a better position for the longer war. So best of luck to both sides. Let's look at the next war, WOLFPACK versus Mythcraft warLords. Looks like Mythcraft is starting to pull the acres back. Maybe that means they're seeing some kind of victory in sight, although I just don't see it so much. However, this is the same trend that we're seeing in the previous war. They must be having part of their wave right now, but they're about to achieve convergence, after Wolfpack had controlled this war for so long. I mean, something happened today. Maybe everyone's not working anymore, so they can pay attention. But Mythcraft Warlords is really giving it to Wolfpack, who's actually down 2 provinces, right? So I mean, you gotta keep that in mind. I mean, they're fighting at a disadvantage. They have less ops, less armies. Um, less spells to throw around, and even they are actually losing honor right now. This is not a good sign. I mean, some signs of trouble here for Wolfpack. Let's just identify them right now. I mean, this was a very strong entry for them, and leading up until this part of the war. Let me just get this out of the way. This part, however, not a good sign for them. Looking quickly at the net worth side, again, we'll look at this. It's the same position here. This area here, prior to this, very good position for Wolfpack. Very good position. Now it's starting to get dicey again, and we're seeing that pattern again, right? We're seeing the ones and the zeros and the ones, right? It's very likely that someone's going to achieve a zero coming up next, whether that'll be Mythcraft achieving divergence and convergence and then divergence moving away and growing above Wolfpack, or Wolfpack will be able to take control of the rest of this war and push them back down. I mean, it's possible um, that this cycle might just be extended a little bit more into the next sets of waves, and we'll see what happens from there. So best of luck to everyone on both sides for this war. Definitely don't think this war is anywhere near over. However, again, Wolfpack is fighting at a severe disadvantage with fewer players, and again, we know what that does when you're facing a kingdom that has, you know, relatively equal skill to that of yourself. So best of luck to everyone on that side. Let's just move this down here because I do have some notes for later war. Uh, WTF versus Utopian Crosswords. Looks like Utopian Crosswords is on the low end side of the land right now, which might be good for them. Um, ooh, that's not a good thing for them. They were definitely in control of this war up until just recently. Again, the last three kingdoms now that we've looked at, um, they had a strong open, a strong middle, and they're starting to slip away just at the end. However, probably what I'm thinking is because they're going in to disable provinces entirely. So I mean, look at the amount of damage done to these orcs. These were very big orcs at one point. And I mean, look at the dryads on this side here. WTF is positioning themselves really well for this war. I mean, if this dwarf, dryad, and orc can get away and continue to grow. I mean, there's no limit to what they can fund. However, look at the flip side and look at the net worth sitting on these fairies at the top of Utopian Crossword tells me that they have the TM game on lockdown. Their orcs are doing relatively well as well. I mean, very strong performance here. Looks like, they're in Utopian Crosswords in slightly better shape. However, the bottom orcs here are not doing so hot, and this dwarf and this orc are not doing so hot as well. Very similar kingdom setup as well. Orc core, they got some dwarfs, and then a few dryads, support casters. Looks the elves are probably fairy, dwarfs might be fairy, um, but you never know until you pull all the data. Um, so let's just take a look at the honor side of things here to see what developments we have there. Utopian Crossword is pulled down, and now if they can't pull back out of this honor rung, um, that's means that Blue Kingdom's going to walk away with a lot. But I have a feeling because of these TMs that they have, these fairies here, this honor should swing back around real quick. And after their heavy chains that they just did on these two orcs, I think the enemy's definitely going to feel it, provided these orcs are damaged enough. The enemy's definitely going to feel it come their next wave. So best of luck to both sides. Let's move on to the next war: Wishmasters versus Monster Tomatoes. Now I got a message from somebody in Wishmasters saying that they were going to pull it out, which I'm not sure 100% what that means exactly, um, but I think what they mean is they're going to pull out the big guns. I have no clue. This message was sent earlier this morning. Looking at the land side of things, they're definitely having some nice waves here. They're not taking too much land either at Wishmasters, so they're not oversaturating their provinces. However, it looks like Monster Tomatoes is actually fighting this war really hard. However, you know, Wishmasters is doing a very good job, actually, of damaging Monster Tomatoes here. I mean, you know, Monster Tomatoes is one province down, but they do have the bigger provinces. These orcs are very large. That could possibly be the downfall for Wishmasters, is they just, they're not really in net worth range anymore. They do have a few guys, but once these 1,000-acre provinces get cycled down, and everyone kind of goes down below the 250K acre range. Almost none of the, even still, like 300K acres, you're barely in range of this big guy up here, Cookie Monster. So I mean, definitely looks like Wishmasters is in a bad position right now. They're definitely gonna have to pull out the big guns because it looks like Monster Tomatoes is winning. I mean, there's no surprise here based on these charts that I'm seeing. Um, Monster Tomatoes is doing a good job doing lots of damage and consistent damage too. That's what we're seeing in this trend downwards, whereas Monster Tomatoes damage trend is roughly half of that or two-thirds of that of the Wishmasters. Quick look at the honor side of things. Uh, well, I mean, Wishmaster's in control of this one, so they're definitely walking away with honor. I mean, I don't see them losing the honor on this one. It's very likely that these big attackers actually kind of have their hands tied behind their backs. I mean, I'm sure they're great at raising, but other than that, they're kind of limited as to what they can actually do at the top there. But yeah, I definitely think Monster Tomatoes is probably going to walk away with this one. So best of luck to both sides. Let's move on to the next one. We've got Monsters. Okay, this is just Monsters versus Ghetto Nightmare. Ghetto Nightmare currently in control of the acres, basically the entire war, coming up to min time shortly. They're maintaining this gap, this net worth gap here, which leads me to believe they're doing similar damage to their enemy, which is kind of what we're seeing here. They have very similar chains in terms of the damage that they're doing. However, Ghetto Nightmare has these massive provinces. So based on these gnomes and fairies alone, I mean, if they're playing these right, I don't see how these bigger kingdoms are losing the war. I mean, they must be going in unprepared or something. But I don't think Ghetto Nightmare is going to lose this war. But we've seen other kingdoms that have much bigger provinces in them, and they're still losing wars. And I just can't figure out. It must be just province mismanagement, lack of strategy overall across the kingdom. Because when you have big, like basically big cows like this, they should be your econ hubs. They can do just about anything. They're unbreakable. They could solo your ritual. They can pay for dragons. They can pay for troops. They can draft. I mean, there's so much versatility here. Um, I'd like to see more stronger performances out of the cows this age. Um, but good job, Ghetto Nightmare, for maintaining that level of network damage. It's very nice to see that. Definitely looks like Red Kingdom is trying to grab that honor, though. I mean, they've done a good job pulling it down so far, and they've for the first time achieved a divergence here after convergence. So it looks like this war might be turning slightly in their direction. However, I think they've got a lot of ground to make up if they actually want to win this war and beat Ghetto Nightmare. So best of luck to both sides. Let's look at the next war: Syndicate versus First Timers. I wonder if they are actually first timers. It definitely looks like that they may be. However, they definitely have some stronger saturations of TMs on their side now due to the number of acres that Syndicate has taken. Quick look at the net worth side of things. This is what we want to see. We want to see that staircase effect, right? That indicates very strong waves, very unified waves, versus first timers here. The damage from Syndicate is a little bit more spread out. We have like it looks like almost two waves are happening, but then plenty of TM damage. I'm sure is going down. Let's take a quick look at what's what here. Dryads and fairies on first timers. They must be first timers with the setup like that. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great setup. I mean, you got all support casters. Fairy, again, the very strongest TM in the game, probably hands down. I think there were some issues, and there currently are some issues with YouTube disconnecting and then reconnecting. There we go. Okay, we're back in it. Okay, so I mean, this definitely looks like Syndicate's going to walk away with this one, and based on their past war performance, this is definitely their war to win. So best of luck to both sides. Up Ships Creek versus Sons of Anarchy. This is actually the one I have the data for. Definitely Sons of Anarchy in control of the acres on the net worth side of things. It looks like they're losing control here. Definitely looks like Up Ships Creek is going to turn this war around and take it away from them. Um, they definitely have walked away with the honor, which indicates a stronger level of TM coordination and possibly target coordination on the one side. Quick look at who's taking the most damage. Wow, okay, we got a couple guys under 300 versus one guy under 300 on this side, Octavius. Some decently deep chains. I mean, thousands of acres here are lost. Excellent work up Chips Creek, I think, on this. If you continue this trend, this is likely your war to take, throughout the entire war. Again, we can break this one down into quadrants, even though it's only been, or segments, even though it's only been 31 hours. We got a big gap here, um, sorry, a small gap there, and then the gaps are getting a little bit smaller towards the end as well. So, again, this would be our one, this is our zero, this is our one. Zero being the wide open, one being the convergence of lines into and out of the play. So as you can see, this is red wars going in, pretty much lasting the entire war. But as you can see, they're slightly losing it. It's a very acute angle here. It's very likely that the future line it would look something more like that. you know. Let me just use a different color so I can illustrate that better. But yeah, I mean, it's very likely that oh, shit, that's still too dark. Okay, what happened there? Still very likely that what we might see happen here is something more along these lines over the next 24 hours. So, um, that's kind of the trend that we're heading into. So, Sons of Anarchy, I hope if you're watching this, definitely something needs to be done if you want to take this war. So best of luck to you there. Let's take a quick look at the data here. It looks like one emerald sent from each side, both dragons slain, no other dragons have been sent. This is a total attack summary for the month of March, the full month. So it looks like they're ahead slightly by, not too many attacks, 15 attacks. Not too far ahead in the acres, few massacres, pretty good, like decent damage from the enemy on the massacre side. Uniques, the enemy's taking it. Um, Looks like 6-3 abolished 7-6's ritual on April 5th, and they had just sent their ruby, so they're the first ones to get their ruby out. Quick look. Oh, you know what? That's it. That's all I have for that one. But yeah, so they are probably the enemy probably does have another ruby, although based on the fact that they slew it pretty quickly, the last one, I would think that they were going to slay this one fairly quickly as well. So best of luck to both sides on that, but it definitely looks like one side is coming back with a vengeance. So on to the last war, the Dickening versus Revenge of the 80s. Some interesting names on here. Let's see who's in control of this war. Revenge of the 80s seems to be in a good position land-wise, but that doesn't really mean anything. They're definitely bigger. Um, this just looks like the Dickening is literally the Dickening for them. I think Revenge of the 80s is just going to smack the poop out of them. Um, I'd like to see the Dickening try to come back and do something about this. I just don't think they have the capacity to. But by all means, like I say every time, prove me wrong, you bunch of humans and fairies. Um, it's a good choice, but against orcs and fairies, sorry guys, but unless those humans are maybe dryads or orcs or avians or undead or something, these orcs are going to be tough customers. I don't think you can out attack them. Again, I'm very biased towards orcs because I love them so much. It looks like the token dwarf has taken most of the damage so far next to this one orc. No, mostly just this dwarf seems to have gotten his butt kicked in. Um, and then they're likely what they're going to do here is they're just going to chain each other's attacker cores until they maintain dominance and they lower that at-home defense low enough so that they can start quad tapping. I mean, that's a standard procedure. So that's it for that one. Let's just, that was the honor side. Okay, good. One more look at the net worth side of things to see where the waves are at. Yeah, I mean, similar waves, very strong decline. Started smaller, just not a great position for the Dickening. This is definitely Red Kingdom's war to take if they have the capacity to take it. I mean, we have seen um, smaller kingdoms actually walk away with wars. What seemingly the chart made look like, was definitely a sure win. It turned into not that actually. Just a quick look at my province here. Dwarf, 130%. We got all kinds of acres that I didn't grow, or sorry, that I didn't build. Look at all that science. Oh yeah. I mean, who wants to see me spend that science? Yeah, you do. All right, let's throw it into population. Uh, that's okay, I guess. It's probably because I have, 912 acres to build. But enough of my 1-1 province. Thank you so much to everyone who submits data. I'm going to make it a little bit easier for people to submit data going forward and just a little bit. I'm basically what